Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Let's talk about why you can't let your employer abuse you. So guys, a lot of you who work in retail or you work in any job that has a hierarchical structure to it, where maybe you have a general manager, then you have a OS, then you have a DR, vice president, etc., right? You guys have to realize that these big corporations, they are not incentivized to give you a relaxed lifestyle. So here's the thing, right? I'm all for, you guys, or you guys who want more out of life. You guys want to work extra hours, you guys want to work overtime, you want to save your money, you want to invest. That's great. But there gets to be a point where you begin to work so much on your days off. Like, let's say maybe you work 5 days and then your boss is sick, or your boss doesn't want to go in, or maybe he gets used to you coming into work. Now you're working, next thing you know, it's been 14 days, it's been 21 days, and you've only had 1 or 2 days off, right? That's great, right? If you're trying to, like I said, establish like an emergency fund, like I talked about previously in another video, or you're trying to invest in assets and you want to get some skin in the game when it comes to investing, right? So it's totally cool if that's your goal. I'm not here to tell you not to do that. But the problem starts when you start saying yes to working on your days off, or working extra hours, doing all of this. And then now it gets to a point where you become so fatigued and so tired that the thing that you were doing on the side, maybe it's a business, maybe you're studying for school, or maybe you're submitting other job applications, right? That begins to dwindle because you're so exhausted that you come home after working 9, 10, 11 days straight, and all you want to do is sleep. So all the time that you wanted to have for the gym, or for your side business, or for submitting other job applications, or for working working on your school or your classes in school, right? Whatever it is that you were building on the side, that you do on the side, your after work activities that are building your future, when those start to dwindle, or when those start to come secondary to your primary job, that's when it becomes a problem, and that's when you got to draw the line. So and this is where it's not necessarily the employer's fault, it's your fault, because at the end of the day, no one can make you do anything. You don't have to say yes to anything. Now, if you say no to overtime, or working on your days off, will that affect your reputation? Possibly, right? Maybe your boss won't like you as much because it's like, hey, I'm salary, and because you got to remember too, a lot of people that are above you, they're salary, so they're not incentivized to be there all the time, because hey, it doesn't matter if they work 20 hours, they're still going to get paid their full 40, right? So you have to understand that the people that are above you, that aren't hourly, that are salary, they're not going to be so privy to be there 5-6 days a week, right? Because it's like, hey, they're trying to play the game smart, where they want to get paid the most to do the least amount of work, right? Which is totally understandable. Like I said, I'm not here to shit on them or say they're lazy or whatever. No, I mean, it's totally understandable. But at the end of the day, who's going to be the one to be exploited? It's going to be usually you or the people below you, right? So you got to be very careful, because people will exploit you, right? They will absolutely exploit you. They'll use you for whatever means necessary, right? So let me say one more time, I'm not against working extra hours. I'm not against working on your days off. I'm not against any of that. I actually am an advocate of working extra hours and getting as much overtime as possible, but only for a short period of time, maybe 2 or 3 years, right? Where you need to save up some money for an emergency fund. Like I said, you want to invest, or you want to put some money towards a side business or whatever, but it has to be intentional, and it has to be a means to an end. Like, I'm doing this so I don't have to do this, right? Because at the end of the day, right, you can work 90 hours a week for the rest of your life, but if you keep working 90 hours a week, if you keep working 80, 90 hours a week all the time, you're just in a circle, right? Because at the end of the day, your goal is you should have the goal to end up try to work smarter rather than harder as you progress in your career, right? You don't want to be the one sitting there doing all the grunt work for the big boys well into your 30s and 40s, right? You want to be the one who's working smart and doing things more on your terms, right? So if that should be your goal, right? So if that's the goal, then it makes sense to not sit there and, be a hamster in a wheel for decades, right? Like I said, there is value in it, but once you get to a certain point, it's like the overtime starts to have diminishing returns, right? You start to feel tired. Now, like I said, you're not as motivated to work in your off hours because you're so exhausted. So your business takes a hit, your gym, your health takes a hit. And like I said, those are the things that really matter, right? Maybe your relationship takes a hit because you're always tired. You don't have time to, do it with your girl, or you don't have time to go out and enjoy life a little bit with your girl or your guy, whatever. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's really something to be aware of, right? So just like I said, if you need to do it for a set period of time, if you need to work on your days off and do all that good stuff, go right ahead. But just understand, you want to get to a point where it's like for me right now, like realistically, I don't need to work on my days off. I don't. I have enough in my emergency fund. I have enough in my investments to where if I was like really struggling for money, I could easily pull out, a few $1,000s from my investment fund and my investment fund. Like I have my emergency fund and I have my investments in whatever else, stocks and crypto, that I can easily just pull out at any time. But my time off is now dedicated towards creating content and doing things of that sort. So I'm not going to be so quick to be like, hey man, let me cover your day, when I know that your salary, and I know that, hey man, I'm not feeling good today, means, hey, I might just really not want to come in because I know I'm going to get paid for the day, right? Things like that. You guys get what I'm trying to say? I'm not saying that your boss is lazy or he just doesn't want to come in all the time, but you got to seriously draw the line, because you can't just be the one sitting there working all the hours, doing this, doing that. And another thing too, like I said, I mentioned this a lot in my videos when it comes to jobs. The jobs aren't going to sit there and be so privy to promote you just because you work all the time, right? They are, like I said, they're incentivized to keep people where they're at because of the benefit that you bring in that position. So, hey, if they know you're the guy who's going to work on your days off and cover all the shifts, they're not going to be so quick to promote you, because it's like, damn, we're losing that piece of the pie that's so beneficial to us, right? Because like I said, a lot of people don't like coming on their days off. So if that's you and you're doing all the work on, doing all the overtime and everything, they're not going to necessarily sit there and want to promote you, because it's like, damn, we need him for this. But that's a whole nother rant. And one more thing I'll say too, people are no matter what, guys, every relationship, especially in the corporate world, is transactional, right? There's no such thing as unconditional love, or there's no such thing as we care about you. It's all about the benefits that they receive in the moment by you doing what they ask. So for example, like this past week, I worked pretty much every day, right? Because there was a hurricane and my boss, whatever, couldn't make it. He wasn't feeling well. Cool, great, no problem. But 3 or 4 weeks ago, right, the overtime was a problem. So I'm scheduled to work 45 hours. So the fact that I'm scheduled 45 hours, it's totally cool, right? The 5 hours of overtime is approved. 3 weeks ago, I worked 47 hours. So I worked 2 extra hours that I wasn't scheduled to work, right? I think I stayed late like a day or two. The following week for payroll, my boss gets an email from his boss saying, Matt is the highest paid manager. He can't work that's an extra 2 hours of additional pay. Let's not let him get more overtime. Let's not let the highest paid manager get more overtime. So like I said, guys, they will use you only when they need you, and then when they don't need you, they're not gonna sit there and approve your overtime or want to pay you, right? They always look for reasons not to pay you. They'll only pay you when they need you, i.e., for example, last week we had a hurricane. Of course they're going to let you work, because it's like, hey, no one else can work, so why are we going to worry about the overtime then? So understand that the corporations don't give a shit about you, which is totally fine, totally normal, no problem there. But just understand that you have the power to say no, and you don't have to sit there and let people abuse you and, you know, do whatever they want with you. So you got to learn to say no. You got to learn to be comfortable with the fact that people may not like you because of it. Your boss might not like you because of it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because who cares if he likes you, because he doesn't care about you anyway, right? So understand that, internalize it, process it, and make the right moves, and act accordingly. Because like I said, your life is the only truly valuable thing we have is our time. Hello. Good. So the only truly thing valuable we have is our time. So at the end of the day, it's not going to be something where you're going to be just losing your time, you know, your free time, to an employer who, like I said, doesn't care about you. So value your time, say no, protect your time at all costs. And I think you'll thank me later for this, because it's important that you have the time for yourself to do what you need to do. To, I know a lot of you guys want to, you know, have your own businesses and live life on your terms, but you need time to create that. So you know, that's not going to happen if you're working 10 days, 11, 14 days straight for an employer, right? So yeah, guys, that's it. That's all. I hope you got value out of this. If you got value out of this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave them down below. And as always, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.